Hello, beautiful people, aloha, and welcome to another episode of Touchful podcast. A very special one because officially it is the last episode of the season. It is the 11th episode, and it's my tradition since the last season, to have 11 episodes in every season. So officially it will be the last episode. And I also want to say hello to my beautiful microphone that I love so much. And I'm really happy that I can record this episode using my perfect mic, because for the last 3 episodes, I was recording them while I was traveling. So I was just using my microphone in my phone. And I know that the quality of the sound was not the very best, even if the content was the best. So I first want to thank you so much for being patient with me, for listening to these episodes, even if sometimes the sound quality is not the best. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm so very happy that I can record this last one with the highest quality, not just the highest quality of content, but also just the highest quality of sound. It really is important for me to always give you the highest quality that I can. I am sitting here with my heart wide open, ready to deliver this episode, and very excited for this one. This episode will be my deep contemplations about love. But before I dive in, before we start, before you dive in with me, I would love to have this moment that we so often have, or I think always by now, we always have this moment at the beginning of every episode of connecting heart to heart. So as I am sitting right now, opening my heart even wider, I put my hand over my heart. I take a deeper breath into my heart, through the heart. So inhale and exhale through the heart, and I invite you to do the same. If you only can, if it feels safe, if it feels good for you, I invite you to put your hand over your heart if you want to, and if it is safe, you can close your eyes. And if not, if you don't want to, you can keep them open, and let's have one breath together through the heart, in and out, connecting our hearts, feeling each other in this present moment. I feel my heart so strongly today, and these days in general. And I feel that a part of it has been this third season, which was for me the season of love. So at the beginning of every season that I record for you, I set an intention, which is kind of like a main theme of the season, a main guideline for me, a main path that I want to be walking with you throughout the season. And 11 weeks ago, I set up a very strong intention that this will be a season of love, of me taking different angles and exploring love in my life through different perspectives, through different experiences, and sharing whatever I will find out, whatever I will feel and explore, coming here and sharing it with you. And I feel that these last 3 months, it really was a season of love, and it changed me. I can feel it. I wonder if you can feel it, or if you can hear it, if you have been with me for a couple of years maybe now. But I feel that something in me is changed, expanded, that it feels different, that there is more space in my heart for love. Throughout this season, throughout these 3 months, I went through some really amazing, beautiful, heart-expanding moments. I call them love attacks. Moments that changed me. I wonder if you ever experienced something like this. A moment of such deep transformation through love that you feel that you are forever changed after this moment. That after something happened, something that touched your heart so deeply with love, you feel that you are not the same person anymore. I wonder if something like this happened to you, because it sure happened to me on many occasions, and especially in these last weeks, both in my business, in my work life, and also in my private life, in my relationships with people, in my relationship with myself. I've had these moments, these love attacks, when I could feel that something was changing in me on a cellular level, on a DNA level, energetically, but also physically, to the point that I have a feeling that I look differently. And I also had really hard moments that were breaking my heart, or nearly breaking my heart, throughout these last weeks. Again, both related to my work, to my business, to my mission, to my passion, working with people. Moments that were super difficult, really uncomfortable, but they ended up transforming me and opening me up to more love. And I also had moments like this in my private life, mostly in my relationships, in my friendships, and also in my romantic relationship, moments of hurt, moments of closure, moments of doubt, all kinds of these deep moments that really were touching me in my relationships, with the culmination in my romantic relationship that happened last week, which was the closure of the relationship, the end of the romantic relationship, which was so very touching, and again teaching me something more about love. So I definitely feel transformed, and I will do my best to bring you some final conclusions. I mean, not final. This contemplation of love, I feel that it never ends, that I'm just at the beginning of this love journey of my life. Because like I told you in one of the previous episodes, love is my religion and my heart is my church. So I feel that I am still just at the beginning of this journey and the contemplations. But since we are at the end of this whole season of Touchful podcast, I will do my best to bring you some conclusions about what is love. And I want to say that this episode is to a great extent inspired by my colleague Kasia, who listens to Touchful podcast regularly, and she often shares her own contemplations, some things that each episode evokes in her, and then she sends me these cute, sweet little voice notes. And a couple of weeks ago, we shared some conversation through voice notes, and Kasia invited me to this contemplation of what is love really. How can we describe it? Like, what is it? What is the essence of it? And I felt so inspired that I told her that I would do a whole episode about it the moment I feel ready. And now I feel ready to deliver that. So I want to thank Kasia for inspiring me to deliver this episode in this way, in the way of contemplation of what is love. And I know, Kasia, that you are definitely listening to this episode, so I am having you a lot at this moment in my heart, and thank you for being such a huge inspiration for me and in my life. So today I will be giving you my contemplations. I will be giving you examples of what love is for me, examples from my private life, examples from my Lomi practice, so from my work life, and maybe just a little side note, since I know that there are some people joining the community of listeners of Touchful podcast recently. So I feel that maybe every now and then I should reintroduce myself. So my name is Magdalena, obviously, and what I do, what I practice, what I have the greatest passion for is inspiring myself for love, inspiring people to love. And one of my ways to do it is through practicing and teaching Hawaiian healing art, Hawaiian massage, which is called Lomi Lomi. And I do it here in Iceland, where I live, and also in Poland, where I'm from. So the examples of what love is, how I feel love, will be also coming today a lot from my practice of Lomi, of doing Lomi and teaching Lomi. So let's go and let's see where all this will take us. My first feeling is that this question, what is love? It can be approached from different realms of reality, through different lenses, through different layers of reality. So one of the ways would be the scientific way of dissecting love and trying to find a scientific answer, a scientific formula for love. And I remember when I studied psychology, that was a part of the curriculum during one of the years, that we were studying the psychology of love and studying the research of, researchers trying to dissect love into different components and see what makes love and what are the components of that. So that is the scientific way. And it is definitely a way to study love. But I feel that this is not my way. And if this is something that interests you, you can find amazing research, a beautiful podcast as well, or YouTube videos about this scientific approach to love and studying different components of love, both in romantic and non-romantic relationship. Another angle, another lens would be the philosophical one, like this having this philosophical mind, a philosophical approach of what is love, and contemplating it a lot from this beautiful mental energy of giving a lot of thought to it and seeing where it takes us. And this is also not my approach, at least not at this moment. I will not be taking you down this path, though very often my contemplations, they feel deeply philosophical. But again, I feel that there are so many people who are more capable of taking you down that path, the philosophical path, the mind path. Another way, which I feel already much closer to, would be the artistic way, the poetic way, the non-logical way of trying to describe love. So when you think about all these poems that people write about love, all these songs about love, when people try to use art and poetry to convey how love feels for them. And this is definitely the way that feels already quite close to my heart and the way I connect to the world. I do it a lot through words. I write poetry, I paint, I consider myself an artist. And through these last 3 months of deep dive into love and contemplating love, I wrote a lot of love poems. And that was out of my need of trying to catch this and put it into something tangible. And in general, I feel that this is what we as humans, we are trying to do when we talk about love. Doesn't matter if it's the scientific approach or the philosophical approach or more meditative approach or spiritual approach to love or this poetic approach. We are trying to do something that is ultimately impossible to do. And the words will always be lacking. And it's okay. And I I still want to do it. I want to give you my approach through words in a non-logical way, in a poetic way, in a way that is inspired a lot by my spiritual practice, by meditations, by deep contemplations that I have with myself, by my Lomi Lomi practice, which teaches me so much about love and life, by spending time in nature, by spending time with myself, by the cacao medicine, which is also a lot about love and opening the heart, and by my experiences, like I shared at the beginning, all kinds of experiences that I have with myself, with other people, that inspire me to feel more. So what I'm trying to do in this episode is to give you my feeling of love, to put into words something that I feel so deeply and something that is so obvious. Like when I feel into love, it is so obvious, it is so easy, it is so simple. And sometimes the moment I try to put it into words, it gets complicated. But still, I will do my best. When I ask myself this beautiful, beautiful, inspiring question, what is love? Then all kinds of answers come to me. And maybe it's something that you would like to do for yourself. Let's have this little practice together. Again, you can put your hand over your heart. It's my favorite thing to do. Every time I want to connect to myself, to my deep wisdom, I put my hand over my heart. And ask yourself with curiosity, with utmost curiosity, with utmost openness of your mind, openness of your heart, openness of your body. Ask yourself, what is love? What is love? And see what comes up. And I'm really curious right now what comes up for you, because I do it right now. So I'm putting my hand over my heart, and immediately the first answer that comes to me is that love is the end. Love is at the bottom of everything. That love is so deep that there is nothing deeper. And it is my personal experience that if I go deep enough through different layers of reality, through different layers of myself, that when I feel that I'm as deep as I can feel, that I always find love there. So in a way, what I feel and what I believe in is that love is this ultimate, I almost want to say ultimate meaning of life. At least for me, for my life. Because in a way, I really believe that life doesn't have any meaning. Life is meaningless in a way. Life is just alive. And you can do whatever you want with it. You can put whatever meaning you want into anything, and that will be the truth for you. So for me, the truth is that the meaning of life is love, is this natural, original state. I sometimes feel love as this zero state. I call it the natural state, the original state. So when I feel the most natural, when I feel at ease, when I feel the most myself, when I feel the most connected to my own heart, when I feel the most connected to other people, to the whole world, and I feel that it comes to me with ease, this is to me the moment when I feel that I am in love. In love, as in surrounded by love, that I am inside love. I remember I once wrote this poem, and a part of that poem was that I am in love. I am inside her. I am in her belly. That I was swallowed by love. I told you that this episode will be quite metaphorical and poetical, and I love it. Nomen omen. I wonder how it lands in you. But what I'm doing with my life is I'm searching for these moments of recognition that I am in love. Inside this moment, which is made of love. And to me, this is the indication of the natural state, of the zero state. So the way I see life, the way I see myself and other people is that we are naturally in this. But so very often, all the time, we are being taken out of alignment, out of love, out of this deep connection to our own hearts, our own bodies, deep connections to this very moment. And I am constantly, being taken out of alignment, and then life, the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, constantly invites me to realign myself, to be in love, to be in the state of love, to be in the presence of love, to show up as love. This is another way I like to contemplate love. I like to ask myself this question: how can I show up with love today, in love, as love? I remember that in one of the episodes, I shared with you this question: what would love do? If I was to show up in love, in alignment with love, how would it look like? How would I approach myself first and foremost? And one of the big inspirations for me to contemplate love and to learn more about love is, like I shared with you, my Lomi Lomi practice. And this is my conclusion, that love is our original state, our natural state, our zero state. It comes from different experiences in my life, but to a great degree it comes from me practicing Lomi and seeing my clients before and after the session, and seeing how very often after the session they are recalibrated into love, realigned into love. And very often people share things, share words like, I feel like myself and I missed it. I haven't felt like this for a very long time. Or they just stand up after the session and their eyes are shining and sparkly, and they suddenly feel like, whoa, that I can feel like this, that life can be like this. And I myself, being the practitioner of Lomi Lomi, I have these love attacks also quite often after the session. That after the session I feel like a better person, in a sense that I feel more in love, inside her, closer to myself, closer to my heart. I remember one of my clients, after the session, he said, now I remember what really is important in life. So this is one of my ways of feeling these moments, inviting people also to feel these moments through my Lomi Lomi practice. The moments that feel natural, the moments that feel easy, the moments when you feel like all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place and you feel that, oh, okay, now I remember how it feels to be me. Now I remember what is important in life. And to me, these are the moments of being in love, being love, showing up as love. Another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment that I had after a Lomi Lomi session, a moment that really taught me a lot about love, was a couple of weeks ago. I was massaging my friend, and it was a very powerful, a very beautiful session, also very deeply touching for myself. And then when I finished the session, so I finished the physical touch, I went to the other room and I just sat with myself and I allowed him to stay on the bench for some time, which, by the way, is a super, super important part of Lomi, at least for me and the way I feel it. The physical part, the touch, the massage is one thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's very healing. But then the moment when you are left on the bench, when you can just lay down on a bench for as long or as short as you truly deeply want to and need to allow your nervous system to readjust, to allow your energy system to readjust, to allow yourself to feel what has changed in that session. So that's what happened. I was in the other room, but the door was open, so I could hear everything that was happening in the Lomi room, and my friend was on the bench. He was there alone, and he went through a really deep emotional release, which is not uncommon. It often happens that people have some deep emotional release, deep emotions coming, often during the session when they are being massaged, but sometimes it also happens after the session when a physical touch ends. So I could hear him going through different emotions, through a lot of crying, a lot of weeping. And my first feeling was to go there and to help him. And I'm doing a huge air quote right now when I say it, to help him, to hold his hand or to tell him something sweet. But something in me was so very sure that he will be okay, that he would be okay, that he needed that moment for himself. So I allowed myself to sit where I was sitting, to let him go through whatever he was going through. And it was a little bit uncomfortable for me because, again, the savior in me so much wanted to go and help him. And at some point I got this dialogue in my head. One voice in my head said, but he's laying there alone. He's there alone. I need to go to him because he's there alone. And the other voice, the voice of wisdom, replied, no, Magdalena, he's not lying there alone. He's lying there with love. And I still get goosebumps to this day when I remember this moment. It's like, of course. We are never alone. We are always with love. And that is another way I approach love. That it is something that is always here, now, in this. That love is something that is always here, that is always available, that is always holding you, always ready to catch you, always here if you choose to lean into it, to remember it, to see it, to feel it. Like I told you at the beginning of this episode, I've been going through a lot of beautiful, amazing, heart-opening moments in the last couple of weeks, but also I've been going through a lot of hardship, a lot of difficult moments, a lot of moments that felt like the world was crumbling, like somebody would pull, the carpet from under my feet and suddenly I was just falling. And so very often in these moments, what I would instinctively do is I would close my heart to protect myself from pain. But the moment I would notice that I was closing my heart, that was the moment when I could choose differently, when I could choose to take a breath and to open my heart wide, 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 wide. I made a whole episode about this practice. I don't remember the title of this episode. I think it's You Are Bigger. It's when I talk a lot about this practice of opening heart. And one of the things that would help me to stay open, even in the moments that felt heartbreaking, the moments when I felt the most lost, abandoned, unloved, ignored, pushed away, insignificant, small, stupid, what would help me to be in love in these moments, to show up as love, was this remembrance that there is love here in this moment, in this. And it is my choice to believe that there is love and I can relax in this moment, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it hurts, because I can choose love. And there is love in this moment, because there is love in everything. I remember that once I had this poetic realization that love is what keeps our cells together. Love is what keeps the atoms together. Love is at the bottom of everything. Love is what makes this universe existing. Love is what keeps the galaxies spinning. Love is what keeps life going on. That, like I shared at the beginning of this episode, love is at the end, at the bottom of everything. Which means, if I choose to see the world like this, and I do, then it means that every moment is an invitation for love, can be an invitation for love. I can close or I can open up and allow this to touch me, allow this to transform me, allow this to expand me into love more. There was this time in my life last week when I was going through the closure of a romantic relationship in my life. And even if there are two people who are holding themselves in love and they bring the most beautiful intention into the closure of a relationship, and this is what me and the man that I was with, this is what we did, then still it hurts and it's normal and it's okay. And how can I open my heart into this and feel this? That was my practice. And the day after that, I had 2 Lomi Lomi sessions with my clients, with my regular clients. And in the morning, in my morning meditation, before these sessions, I was meditating and contemplating and feeling my heart and feeling the love and feeling the hurt and feeling everything like I always do. This is my main practice in life, how I can open myself more into feeling everything that is, into getting my heart to grow so much that it is bigger than the world. And I was deeply in that meditation, and a sentence came to me, like it often does. I often hear voices when I meditate, when I do Lomi, when I sit with myself, when I'm in nature. I very often kind of like hear myself talking to myself, like my higher self speaking to my human very clearly. And in that moment, I heard a voice that said, I give myself into the hands of love. I give myself into the hands of love. And this has become my main intention before these Lomi Lomi sessions, these 2 sessions that I had on that day. And they were both so deeply touching and moving for my clients. And before each session, I would stand in front of that massage bench with my hands on the body of my client, feeling deeply touched and deeply grateful to be able to do what I do, feeling deeply inspired by love, feeling deeply in pain also. And I would say to myself, I gave myself into the hands of love. And the magic happened. And it happens every time for me when I allow myself to remember that love is a choice, that to be in love is a choice. And I want to make that choice as often as possible. I don't make that choice always. Sometimes I spend hours or even days in closure, in resentment, in anger, in this tightness before I get a wake-up call and I'm like, oh, I can take a breath and I can remember that I am in love. I am in her belly. I am inside her. I am inside this moment, and I can feel it. It is safe. It is safe to be alive, and it is safe to feel everything that I feel. And I can allow this to touch me and to transform me and to open me up into more love, because this is how I want to live my life. And I want to dedicate my life to this. Give myself into the arms of love. And it is a practice. So another way for me to see love is that love is a choice, and love is something to be practiced. It is something that I can get better and better at staying in love, holding myself in love, keeping my heart open and giving myself into the arms of love. It is something to be practiced. It is something to be cultivated. It is something to be exercised through this life. And I feel that for me, this is the reason why we come to this earth, to practice life. And whatever you practice, you will become really good at it. Whatever you practice. So I remind myself that my ultimate practice, what I want to be really good at, is love. Being in love, showing up as love, having so much love that it's enough for the whole world. And because it is a practice, then sometimes I have days when it works really beautifully and it feels amazing. And sometimes I have days of huge doubt, and I have a feeling that it's not working, that it's all bullshit, that I am just lying to myself, lying to all of you, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's not working. I'm just gonna stop. And then the other day comes, when I remind myself again why I am here in this life. And again, there is no ultimate answer why you are here. You can choose. You can choose why you are here. You can choose how you want to see your life or your destiny, if you want to put it like this. You can choose why you are here, and this will become the truth for you. So the choice that I made was that I am here to love. I am here to inspire myself to love. And I am here to inspire as many people as possible, if they want to be inspired, to love. And I want to say one more thing, or maybe many more, we will see, but definitely I want to say this one thing, that as you have heard through this episode, I don't see love, and I don't talk about love as something that happens between people. This is this understanding of love that is, I would maybe call it the social understanding, the social approach. Like I told you, there is like the scientific approach, more philosophical approach, more poetic approach, and spiritual approach. And there is also this, I'm going to call it the social norm approach. And it is this approach that love is a feeling. Like even when I Googled, before recording this episode, I Googled, what is love? And I got the dictionary definition. And the dictionary definition that I got was indicating that love is this feeling of deep care and affection between people. And so very often we see love like this, that it is something that happens between people, some sort of this beautiful, nourishing, amazing feeling that happens between people. And it can be in a romantic context, and we have this romantic love. It can be in a family context. So then we have love between, parent and a child. We have love between siblings. We have love between different family members, but it's sort of like something that happens between people. We can have love in a context of friendship, that it's this, again, this something, this magic that happens between friends. Very often we also say, I love something, when we want to say that I really like it, it gives me joy, it makes me enjoy life, it is important for me, it has a lot of meaning for me, then we say, I love it. Like I could easily say, I love to eat. Oh, this is one of my favorite activities. I love to eat. And by that, I mean that it gives me a lot of pleasure. It gives me a lot of joy. It gives me a lot of fun. It's the activity that I really like. So I feel that it's important to mention this context, and maybe I should have done it a little bit earlier in this episode before I went so spiritual and so philosophical and so poetical, but it's fine. It's perfect as it is. Anyhow, what I'm trying to say is that I see this understanding of love, and I feel that it is very limiting, that it's just a tiny fraction of what love is. That we see love sometimes as something that happens between people, not because it is love, but because it is easier for us to feel this in such context. So let's take a romantic relationship, because there's so much of this romantic love ideas in our culture, in every culture, I think. So let's take this romantic love, so the deep affection that happens between two people, and it evolves and it changes and it grows and it expands us and it invites us into different places in ourselves, and it changes the relationship, and it brings all kinds of moments. And we often say that it's something to be cultivated, it is something to be taken care of, and I agree with all that, with all my heart. Being the lover that I am, I agree with all that, and still I am absolutely certain that, at least for me, at least in my life, it is just a way for us to tap into this natural state, into this zero state, into the original state, into the bottom of all things. We see this as love because it is one of the easiest ways for us to feel that, to relate to that. That's why we seek that. We need the relationships in our life because they nourish us and they remind us about love. They show us the glimpses and hints and ideas of what love is. But I invite you to see love as something that is much bigger, something that is much greater. And when there are two people coming together and having a relationship, then the way I see it is that the love there kind of like condenses and becomes more tangible for us, becomes easier for us to feel. And especially in a romantic relationship, this is my experience with all my romantic relationships, and this is like a huge realization that I got the other day, that when you are in love, that's how we say it when we are at the beginning of a romantic relationship, or not even at the beginning, but we say, I'm in love with that person, I'm falling in love with that person. But the way I started to see it is that this is like a shortcut. This is like one way to see this. But what happens a little bit deeper, what happens on the energy level, is that I am falling in love with the version of me that is being invited to show up in the presence of another person. So there is some magic that happens when two people come together, and I show up in a certain way in the presence of different people. And there are some people that invite me, not even consciously, it happens on this subtle level. They invite me to show up as this version of myself that feels easy, natural, beautiful, relaxed, inspired, and I fall in love. And it feels to me like I fall in love with that person. And on this human level, on a social level, it is true. But on a deeper level, the way it feels for me is that I fall in love with myself. I fall in love with how this person makes me feel. I fall in love with this version of myself that shows up in this relationship. So in that sense, I started to see relationships as invitations to show up as love. And I started to pay more attention into how different people invite me to show up as. And again, it all happens on a totally unconscious level because of how we affect each other when we come together. So I thought that I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, if I managed to convey it through the words in a way that I really deeply feel it. But I remember when I felt it for the first time, it made so much sense to me that a relationship and the love that is between people in a relationship is simply an invitation to see how you show up, and that you are invited to fall in love with yourself more. That's why being in love with another person feels so good, because on some level you are falling in love with yourself, and that feels the best. To fall in love with yourself, to have love for yourself, it feels the best because it is the most natural state. It is your original zero state, love, period. So everything that makes you closer to yourself will feel good. And a romantic relationship and falling in love romantically is one of the most beautiful, easiest, also one of the most intense ways to feel that. Please let me know if this part, the last part of this episode, if it makes sense to you, because it makes so much sense to me, but I am not sure if I managed to translate it into the human language, into the language of words, especially that English is not my first language and I sometimes struggle so much to find the right words. But I hope I did. I hope that even if not through the words, that you were able to read a little bit between the words, between the lines. And I feel that's all I had for you in today's episode about love. Love as a practice, love as the ultimate meaning of life, love as our natural state, love as something that is always here to hold us, love as the beginning and the end of everything, love as something to be cultivated, love as a lifestyle. This is also something that I want to finish with that how about love being a lifestyle? How would your life look like if your lifestyle, the way you identify yourself, the way you approach everything in your life, if it was through the lens of love, if love was your lifestyle? I am so very curious to hear how this episode landed in you. So if you want to share your thoughts, you can send me an email. You have my email address in the description of this episode. And also, like I said at the very, 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 very beginning of recording this one, I said that officially it is the last episode of the season. But just like last time with season 2 of Touchful, with this season I would like to do one extra episode, which will be a Q&A session. So if you have any question to me about love, about life, about Lomi, these are my 3 favorite things in life, then there is a link in the description of this episode, a link to the Google Doc form where you can anonymously post your question and I will answer it. So if you're listening to this episode before 17th of June, which will be the release of the last episode of this season, if you're listening to this episode now before 17th of June, and if you have any questions for me, something that you would like me to answer about Lomi, love, or life, then please ask, and I will be happy and grateful and excited to answer and to have this one extra episode of questions and answers. But regardless of that, I want to thank you with all my heart for being here, for being a part of this tiny but sweet community of people who listen to my podcast. And I feel you in my heart. I want you to know that I do. That when I sit in front of this microphone, I don't feel like I'm talking to myself in an empty room. I really feel like I can share my thoughts with you, that you are there. And thank you for giving me the most precious thing that you have in this world, which is your time and your energy. So it feels like such an honor to know that you chose to spend a moment of your beautiful, precious life with me. And I will talk to you next week in a Q&A episode, if there will be any questions. And then I will take a couple of weeks break, and I will come back again in the next season of Touchful podcast. Thank you so very much for this one. Thank you for you. I wish you love. I wish you beauty and magic. I wish you inspiration. I wish you open heart. And I wish you everything that you feel that you might need in your life. Aloha. I love you dearly. Bye-bye.